So this is the brand new HP Spectre X360 2-in-1, and it's updated in the sense that it has a new processor, but the design is very familiar and similar to the previous version that came out last year. It's still one of the better looking 2-in-1s on the market because instead of just using like your traditional clamshell, they have this gem cut design. And what that means is you get these like chopped off corners with ports on them. They're not like super sharp or anything, but they're definitely sharper than the sides of the laptop. The sides are very soft, but they roll off. And one thing that's super interesting is you can see the keyboard inside the laptop, whereas most other products tend to hide that when the lid is closed, but with this one, you can see it. Now, obviously with this sort of design, you will get more dust and grime that goes inside the laptop, but I still think it's a very unique look compared to what's out there. It's a black laptop, but there's also a blue one, and I do love the gold chrome accents. It just makes it look super classy. Now there's a few ports, more ports than let's say a MacBook Air, with a USB-A port on the left-hand side, and then your audio jack right here in the corner. But then on the other side, you have a micro SD card slot, and then two Thunderbolt 4 ports, one right here, and then of course another one on the back right. You get a few things in the box. For example, the charger comes, which is a 65-watt charger. It has this wonderful, well-made braided cable. I love this stuff. It comes with a pen in the box this time, which was something you got if you bought it from a certain place, but if you bought it from somewhere else, it didn't. This time the pen is coming in the box and it works fantastic. You also get this laptop sleeve. So this is a leather or faux leather laptop sleeve that you can put the Spectre inside if you want to keep it protected. Now, because this is a convertible, the hinge has to be a bit stiffer than your traditional clamshell laptop because the screen has to rotate 360 degrees and stay put. Now, obviously it's a little difficult to open up with one hand, but the best way to tell if the hinge is good enough is you put the screen, not all the way back, but to a position like this, and you pick it up. If you see the screen stay in its true position that you left it in when it was on the table, then you know the hinge is good. There's very little wobble, so the hinge is where it needs to be. I do like the fact that you can flip it 360 degrees and use it in a tablet format. This is touch, so you can go ahead and use your fingers to touch the display. I will comment on the pen. I don't mind this pen. Like it's not the best pen I've used. You know, like if you're just taking simple notes, it's great. But if I'm using this to draw a lot, I did find the latency to be a bit too slow. It's not the worst, but I find this pen to be better for taking notes rather than drawing professional designs. There's a place for it. I had to look, but I found it. It's on the side of the laptop. If you just slap it right here, there's a little magnet where you can keep it in place if you want to travel around. It's not the strongest magnet, but I think it's strong enough that you're not going to lose it if you're holding it around in class like this. I don't think it's going to fall on the ground. Now, one thing that HP has really improved on over the past few years is the keyboard experience. Typing on this thing is an absolute joy. It feels comfortable. It has good travel distance. It's clicky, but it's not too loud. Like if you're buying this to write a lot, you're gonna appreciate this keyboard. It's a very good keyboard to type on. Now you don't have a page up and page down key, which is unfortunate, but the keys are very well spaced. You have a massive touchpad, which feels very accurate to use. It has a good click to it. It feels solid. You have a bunch of special keys at the top that obviously change the level of the backlighting. Of course, you can mute and unmute your microphone or just quickly bring up the HP Command Center if you want to change a few settings. There is a fingerprint scanner between the arrow and Alt key, but if you don't want to use your fingerprint to log in, you can use Windows Hello because it does have an IR camera inside of it. Sticker placement, not the worst, okay? I would have loved them to move it just below the Bang & Olufsen writing because I think it would look a little cleaner. This is off to the side, it just ruins the symmetry. Speakers are on the bottom, and this is probably its weak point. Like, don't get me wrong, they're super clean and clear. They just don't get nearly as loud and vibrant as the Yoga 9i. The Yoga 9i soundbar is the best idea for a 2-in-1 because it follows you in different positions when you flip the laptop. But the star of the show is this display. Not only is it 3x2, so you get a lot of vertical space, right? If you're working in Office or Excel and want like a proper paper representation, you're gonna want a 3x2. It's just a better option than 16x10. On top of that, this is OLED. It looks so good. Whether you're consuming content, typing for hours, it just looks fantastic. You get good color gamut, good color accuracy. Screen brightness is around 400. Now, for those of you sensitive to PWM flicker, there is a little bit under 50%. So usually you want to keep the brightness at 50% or above. Also, just like the HP Pavilion Plus, it does come with a 5 megapixel camera, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I think they did a good job with the color science. It doesn't overexpose anything. And in fact, you can actually go into their software and change things around. It's called the Glam Cam, and you can make it auto frame you. So basically, if you move your head into different positions, the camera will actually follow you, and you can change the lighting and the way it looks to give you a more appealing experience. Now, this is the second laptop I've reviewed this year with an i7-1255U. The first one performed very poorly. This one performed as it should. And you pair that with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, and you get a pretty good light and portable laptop. Is it gonna crush a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro 13M2? No, it's not. But for general stuff like working in Microsoft Office, Google Docs, PowerPoint, Excel, this thing's great. Even if you're using it for Photoshop or Lightroom, it's more than capable. Even for light compiling code, if it's every once in a while, it'll handle it fine. The only thing I wouldn't buy it for is if you're crushing video edits or using it for any sort of 3D work. This is just not your machine. You're better off with the 16-inch version that comes with a dedicated GPU. Fan noise can get a little loud if you leave it on performance mode. I found it went up to 47 decibels. And even if you leave it on balanced or cool mode and you're crushing this thing to its full potential, it'll stay in the mid 40s. If you want it to be quiet, you gotta put it on quiet mode, and then you can get the fans to go below 40 decibels. Heat management was good. It did a good job of staying relatively cool. Now, internally, it's pretty much all battery, right? This is a big 66 watt hour battery, but I got around 7 hours and 5 minutes before needing to charge. You do have a NVMe SSD that can be swapped out for something bigger, and you have 2 fans to cool the CPU and integrated GPU. So I think my biggest complaint about this laptop, and again, this is very minor and me nitpicking, is the fact that it has a USB-A port that has a flap. I'm just not a fan of these things, but I understand why they did it. It's chiseled, you can't have a flat side, so you have to use this style of port. The other thing is this open space. I know this will eventually just allow a lot of dust in and will keep your keyboard kind of dirty, especially if you're moving around a lot, but those are minor things, you know? Overall, this is a very solid product. I think it comes down to what you're doing with it. Like if you're living your life in a productivity suite, like you're using Office and Excel and all those styles of apps, then get this. The 3:2 aspect ratio is meant for that. It's meant for document-based work since you get that crazy vertical space. But I think if you're doing more media-focused stuff and you want a wider display to consume content, then you might want to look at the Yoga 9i because that has a 16:10 display and it also has better speakers. Overall, great 2-in-1. If you have any more questions about it, let me know in the comment section down below. Links to this product will be there too. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.